The creative process is found in everything in life. In the hobbies we love, the relationships we cherish, even in potty training. You heard that right. Hi, I'm Nadia, and you're listening to Scripted Unscripted, a podcast where I talk about my personal experience as a writer trying to make it and not always succeeding. Each episode covers big life concepts through small stories from my day-to-day. Sometimes my friends come to visit and we get to have a conversation about all of it. But no matter what, Scripted Unscripted is a way for me to share with you the joy and pain of trying to live a fulfilling life. You are creative. Stop telling yourself otherwise. I mean it. So often, the word creative or creativity is reserved for people who make art. Yes, I am one of those people. But I've heard so many people say they're not creative just because they don't do what I do. Or, I don't know, they don't paint or act or bake sourdough bread. But I have always pushed back on this concept. Everyone is creative. You are creative. Your friends are creative. The people you pass on the street, they're creative too. Let me say it again. You are creative. One more time for the cheap seats in the back. You are creative! Creativity is not something you do or do not have. It's rather something that is within all of us, that we are born with, and it's our job to recognize it and learn how we use it within ourselves. Each person's natural creativity has its own flavor and nuance. So let's get some definitions out of the way. Here's what the dictionary says.
Creativity, noun, the use of the imagination or original ideas, especially in the production of an artistic work.
All right, dictionary voice, probably created by AI, but I'm not sure. That definition is vague and you totally missed the point. Please allow me. Pronounced, like I pronounced it. Creativity, noun. The ability to find solutions using one's own specific neuron patterns in order to produce ideas that solve problems. I don't know, something like that. Simply put, to me, creativity is the brain activity that helps you find solutions. And guess what? There are always problems to find solutions to. Because life. We live it, so we have problems. Which means, here it is again, you are creative! Now, the way you use that personal creativity to tackle challenges is called the creative process, and it exists in every aspect of life. Every aspect, I mean it. It is not reserved for creating art because problems pop up in work, in life, in relationships, in goal setting, anything really. In my own life, the more I figured out my own creative process when building stories, the more that creative process seemed to seep in and apply to moments and relationships in the everyday world. I'm going to start off with something that was super challenging for me. Potty training. That shit is hard. Pun intended. Yes, you heard that right. I use the creative process to help my toddler pee and poop like a big kid. Before the parents jump in here looking for tips on how to potty train, that's not what this is about. Although reach out to me, I got you, I have tips. No, this is more about how to shift your own perspective to look at seemingly normal goals in life as part of the creative process. Please trust me. After we talk about potty training, I'm going to tell you how I use the creative process to activate a brand new hobby, playing the ukulele. I know. It is music, and so it is inherently considered a high art, but I'm not talking about being good at the ukulele. I'm only going to talk about how the creative process gave me the patience and the ability to be bad at it and enjoy it, which is what hobbies are supposed to be. So here we go. Potty training. What can I say? It's a rite of passage for the kid. Yes, of course, but I gotta say, it's a rite of passage for the parents too. Let me paint a picture for you. My angel baby child boy is a little over 2 years old. And if I'm going to be honest, I was really sick of changing diapers. Also, he's got to get ready to go to school. Every child develops at a different age, but between the ages of 2 and 3, is a good time to start getting them to Poopsville. Or Poop Town. Pooperama. Poopamon. Like Pokemon? Alright people, small disclaimer, there might be a lot of poop jokes in this segment of the episode. You've been warned. The first thing I did in the process of potty training was procrastinate the process of potty training. And I made many excuses. Oh, it's winter, it's too cold out, so if he has an accident, it's going to be so uncomfortable for him. Oh, you know, the American Pediatric Society recommends 3 years old, so let's stick to that, we're still early. Anyway, the nursery aren't potty trained yet, they're still using diapers. But you know, the real truth is, I wasn't ready. It wasn't him. I pretended I was ready by doing something I like to call active procrastination. So I do this in my writing too, and I call it research, but let's face it, I'm just stalling. So with potty training, my stalling was reading a bunch of articles. 10 ways to potty train. Gentle parenting and the toilet. How the boomers did it and why you shouldn't do it that way. And I bought all the stuff. The pull-up diapers to practice with, the toilet seat add-on, the light blue potty, the cute little undies with the dinosaurs and the cars on them, the whole poop-tastic paraphernalia. And then I just let them sit there for months. Procrastination. This is the point of the creative process that I recognize very well. It comes with fear, or really just a general aversion to any change ever. This may have been potty training, but the reason the beginning of this new phase was so familiar to me was because I had seen it in all my work. I had also seen it in some of my relationships when I would procrastinate confronting someone because it's scary and new. Let's call this the, I don't know, I am so scared moment. Being aware that this is a step inside the creative process made me completely understand my son on that very first week. So it went a little something like this. Hey, Habibi, look, I got you this cute little potty. You want to try it? And that is when he proceeds to throw the potty across the room and scream and yell at me. The next day, I tried a different tactic. I just made him sit on the damn potty. The screaming ensued. No, I don't want the potty. Please don't make me use the potty. I don't want the potty. Not a great tactic, but it was all I got, okay? The next day, I tried again. I thought maybe if he got to be a little more familiar with it. No, not at all. More crying. The next day, well, you know, and the next day after that, it wasn't working. I had to change. I had to do something. I know about the articles, but they weren't helping. I'm not sure why they weren't helping, and I think it's because they don't really tackle the create, or at least not the way I think of it. So I thought of the way that I would tackle a difficult new idea or project. That night when he went to bed, I found myself staring at my new nemesis. The light blue potty. It is just a potty. I've written several TV series. I've created worlds on my own. This is just a potty. Then it dawned on me. That damn light blue potty was a metaphor for the novelistic style stories I tell. Well, it's a metaphor for everything, really. Because everything is a step-by-step. There is a process. And process is my bread and butter. So, the next night at bedtime, I shifted strategy. I turned off the lights and placed him in his crib. I asked him, what do you think about the potty? Mabadi potty! I don't want it! He was about to tear up. But I kept going. Why? Are you scared of it? He stopped crying, reflected a bit, and then he nodded and turned away from me. I could feel that my little boy was ashamed almost. This is a new feeling he has. As if this is the very beginning of what that feeling that we all know so well. the one where you think you're disappointing someone, and in this case, it's me, his parent. In another way, he's kind of disappointing himself. This is definitely part of the creative process. But I wasn't disappointed in him, not at all, so I told him the truth. Being scared to start something new is normal because you can fail. Mama was scared when she started potty training, so was Dada. He turned back around to face me. His nightlight was just enough to show me his expression. He was intrigued and also surprised that the two people he loved the most in the world could have felt the same as he did. So I continued. You don't have to be good at the potty right now. You just have to try. The first time is very scary, but the next time after that is less scary, and the time after that even less. He nodded. All you're going to do is try, and with a little practice, you'll get better. You don't have to be great. You just have to try your best. God, Mama me, try talking to yourself whenever you have a new project. Anyway, I'm not going to lie. I was nervous the next day. But I took off his diaper and placed the potty against the wall in our living room. He knew what was coming, but this time there were no tears. We sat there together, and I reminded him about the creative process. You see, son, the creative process is the way to look at life's problems with the neural patterns in your brain. I'm just kidding. I just sat there and I sang the songs he loves, and before you know it, success. We celebrated the first step, even if it was really, really tiny. And there were many, many more steps to come, which is maybe another good self-reminder. But at least now I felt more comfortable with potty training because I could relate it to the creative process. So in a way, I guess it takes me some practice too. In the weeks that followed, whenever he had an accident, I would tell him that it's normal to make mistakes when you're new at something, and you just have to clean it up and keep going. With a bit of practice, you'll get the hang of it. And he did get the hang of it. Then I wrote those words at my desk so that any time I'm in the middle of something really hard, I can look at them and remember, potty training is a metaphor for my whole life. And it can be for yours too. Shit, that's pretty good. I am not sorry about that shit joke. As promised, it's time to talk to you about my obsession with the ukulele. A lot of times in my life, people ask me how I decide what I'm going to write next. How do I choose my passion project? Or maybe one of my favorites is, how do I come up with ideas? The answer lies in the ukulele. At the same time, I do not have the answer. I can't explain the origins of it, but I'll just tell you what happens to me when I get an idea. It starts as a whisper in the back of my brain. For some reason, unbeknownst to any of us, there was a day that a thought came to me in the form of an image of myself playing the ukulele. And I just liked that image, and I wanted it to become a reality. This is the same thing that happens to me when I find an idea for a story. I'm not sure how it happens, but for some reason, I get this whisper of a thought, and I just know that it's important, and that I need to listen to it. I follow it down the path and into the rabbit hole, and then I get to work realizing it into something that's out there in the world. This is the part of the creative process that I like to call, I swear I'm not on drugs, things just come to me. I'm kidding, I call it intuition. Across the decades of creating stories, I think I've become stronger at hearing the whisper and turning up the volume on it. I don't question it, I just know that if I heard it, it has to mean something, and so I pursue it. Again, small reminder, people, you are creative! No, seriously, you're creative. So you have this whisper too. I don't know what your whisper is, and I don't know what it's telling you, but if you hear it, even if it's faint, work on turning up the volume and pursuing it. And that's what happened with the ukulele. Sorry, 1 second. I will be right back. Sorry, I'm back. Anyway, one way I make that whisper louder is by saying it out loud to anyone who'll listen. I had this running joke with my husband when he would go to the grocery store or run errands. He'd ask me if I needed anything on his way back. Pick up a ukulele. And he'd laugh, and then when he came home, I'd bring it up again. Did you go get a ukulele? He thought I was kidding, but I was kidding, but also I kind of wasn't. I talked about it with my friends. I randomly brought it up in conversation. They ended up sharing with me a few ukulele players on Instagram or friends of theirs that already played. So this was becoming fun, and I was accidentally immersing myself in this world, and the whisper was getting louder. When Eid came around that year, a few lovely friends surprised me with a Eid gift, a little watermelon-painted starter ukulele that would become my first practice instrument. It was such a surprise, but to be honest, I was a bit embarrassed because I'd been joking about it for so long that it was like I was dropping hints or something. Then again, I didn't care because I had my ukulele in hand. I think the positive mindfulness gurus call this manifesting. I manifested the ukulele into my life. That, and I have a really awesomely supportive friends. Thank you guys. So that's when I got to work. Just like I would any story that I was working on, I broke down this new goal into small steps that I could actually handle. I started on YouTube with a beginner video that started with 3 very simple chords. It was slow and it was tedious. Where to place my fingers, how to hold the ukulele, how to strum properly, how to move my fingers to the next chord, and there was no song in sight. I made myself a mini schedule in my head where I had tiny goals like do this chord switching exercise for 3 days before moving on to the next step, which is to try to sing while strumming, which sounds easy, people, but it is not. I feel bad for my poor husband who heard me practicing every single day, switching from the same 3 chords over and over and over and over, and I really, really sucked at it. I was so bad. I was so bad. But I was also so happy. I was genuinely having fun. If you've been listening to this podcast so far, I know you've heard me say the word joy a lot. Playing the ukulele reminded me that it's not so much about the outcome, but the joy that I was feeling during the process that was so important. Maybe more important than anything else. And guess what? I got better. I learned more chords, more strums, my fingers were able to move more naturally, and I started to play more complicated songs. Even my singing voice got better, which I did not believe was even possible. From then on, the ukulele was a reminder that the creative process is indeed a process. Whenever we start new things or have a big goal in mind, I don't know why we expect ourselves to excel right away. If a new writer comes to me wondering why they aren't Rawi Haj or Margaret Atwood as soon as they touch pen to paper, or when a friend talks about how difficult they struggled with a certain presentation at their new job, or when new parents guilt themselves into believing that they're not good at parenting, I always say, why would you expect me to play a song the very first time I pick up the ukulele? I need to take it step by step and practice and make mistakes, and then I'll get better. I think that's true in all things. I mean, you heard it about potty training. You're hearing it now about ukuleles. But seriously, just think of anything in your life. Anything that's difficult for you in your own personality that makes it challenging in relationships. You practice at those things. Maybe some people are better at confrontation than others. I am not one of those people. But if I think of things like I think of the ukulele and try to just practice and slowly make mistakes, maybe I can do better. So there you have it. The creative process in life. I guess it's kind of a way to be easier on yourself, especially during the tough seasons. I know it's helped me. I just can't be good at everything the second I try it. And I don't have to be good at everything. What I do know is that I have my own built-in creativity to help me navigate through it. And so do you. Because, guess what? You are creative! I'm sorry, that was it. That was the last time. I promise. The itsy bitsy spot. Thank you for listening to my take on poop, uke, and everything else. As always, you can reach out to me in the digital space where I want to hear your stories about the creative process in your own lives. Scripted Unscripted is brought to you by CMS, yours truly, Nadia Tabata, that's me, alongside my beautiful producer, Hindan Abdawi.
I'm sorry, Nadia.
Everybody poops, everybody poops. Everybody poops. Mama poops, and Daddy poops, and Jude, he poops.